In today's video, we will know about 7 Steps Around the Fire, a stage play written by Mahesh Dattani. Dattani is one of the leading figures in modern Indian theatre. He is a director, an actor, and a playwright. His one of the best plays include Final Solutions, Dance Like a Man, On a Muggy Night in Mumbai, 7 Steps Around the Fire, and Tara. Dattani is the first playwright in English to be awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award. Now, Seven Steps Around the Fire is a radio play. It was first aired in 1998. Now, let us know about the main characters of the play. Though it is a short play, but it has many characters. First of all, we have Uma Rao, who is a research scholar. She is pursuing her PhD degree and working on a thesis on the subject of the transgender, that is third gender community, Hijras. So then there is her husband Suresh Rao, who is the superintendent of police, and Uma's father-in-law and Suresh's father is the deputy commissioner of police, though he is an absent character. Then we have Munswami, who is the constable of Suresh Rao in his office, and we have Anarkali, who is a Hijra, who is convicted for the murder of Kamla. Kamla is another Hijra, who is also an absent character. She does not appear in the play directly. Then there is Champa. She is the head of all the Hijras. Then there is Uma's father, who is the vice chancellor of a university, and then there is Mr. Sharma, who is the minister, and he is the father of Subramaniam or Shubbu. So Subramaniam or Shubbu is another important character who falls in love with the Hijra Kamala. And then there is Salim, who is the servant of Mr. Sharma's house, and his wife is also an absent character, and another absent character is Uma's professor. Uma Rao, who is actually doing a research on third gender community, goes to the office of Suresh in order to find the convict Hijra, who is Anarkali. Now, Uma Rao comes to Anarkali in order to investigate about the matter, about the murder of Kamala, not only for her interest in the research paper, but also because she wanted to know the real truth behind this. The play begins in the office of the Superintendent of Police, where Uma has come to talk to Anarkali, and she tells Munswami that she wants to talk to Anarkali. However, Munswami repeatedly requests her not to talk with her, not to get interested in the case, because that may harm his position. Because if something wrong happens with them, means between Anarkali and Uma, he will be responsible. Munswami will be responsible for that. As at first, Anarkali did not want to talk to Uma because she thought Uma was a journalist who has come there for a story to publish. But later, when she realized that Uma was actually the wife of the superintendent of police, she told her that she did not kill her sister Kamala. That is the case that Uma has come to know. A Hindi movie fight scene is heard in the background of the scene of the bedroom, and at first Suresh makes fun of the name that the Hijra had, Anarkali, and later he told her that she should not be so much interested in the case, and even though Suresh is allowing Uma to investigate in the case because of the thesis that Uma is writing about the transgender community in India, but he says that she should not feel compassionate for them because they are all liars. They can take advantage of her. After this, as they lie on bed and have an intimate scene, the scene cuts down to the voice of Uma, where she is investigating the origin of the transgender community in India, regarding the popular myths about the origin of the transgender community, ranging from the story of Ramayana. She also says that what is the function of these people, what do they do for living, and many other things in a short, brief soliloquy, you can say. Uma also points out that why the presence of the Hijras, the transgender community, is so important in any sacred ritual of the Hindu, like marriage or childbirth, etc. The next scene again takes place in the office of Suresh, the superintendent of police. Anarkali suggests Uma to go to Russell Market in Sibajinagar, where she would find Champa, the head of the Hijra, who can help Uma with the money so that Uma can make arrangement for the bail of Anarkali. Then Suresh tells her that he would ask Munswami to leave Uma to her house, but instead Uma asked him to tell Munswami to leave her in her dad's house because she wanted to visit her dad. So Suresh agreed and told Munswami to take her to her dad's house. When in the car, Uma thinks many questions about the Hijras. She asks herself in her thoughts that did the Hijras come in India with Islam, or did they already used to stay here with the Hindu tradition? Why they are particularly attracted to marriages and childbirth, and etc. etc. These questions arise in her mind while she is in the car. Then suddenly Uma started to think about her mother's her mother used to tell her that these hijras used to curse upon them who did not allow them to dance or to sing in a childbirth or in a marriage ceremony, or who did not pay them for their dancing or singing. So such thing perhaps happened to her mother also, because she says that her mother actually adopted her. So basically she is not a real daughter of her mother. Rather, her mother adopted her because the Hijras once cursed her mother. That is why her mother could not produce any children of her own. Then Uma in the car asked Munswami who found the body of Kamala. So then he said that a passerby who found the body of Kamala even after 4 days. The temple priest beside the pond complained about the stench, the smell of body, and that is why they found out the body, and the body was found in the pond. It was burned and after thrown into the pond. So when Uma asks that did not the Hijras complained or reported the missing of Kamala, so Munaswami told that they were rather they were interested in the jewelry. She wore lot of jewelry when she was burned into death, and it was a matter of curiosity. Where did she, means Kamala, where did she get so many jewelry, as it was very costly, and Hijra could not it could not have afforded so much jewelry as she were wearing at the time of her death. Then when the car stopped at the signal, Umar threw coins outside the car and the children started to fight with each other to get the coins. After reaching the house of Ramaswamy, that is Uma's father, Uma finds that her father is in university. He has not returned yet. So she tells Munaswamy that they have to wait. So in the meantime, Uma tells her to wait and brings some ice cream for her. In the meantime, she calls her father and talks with the father. Her father asks her about her pregnancy report, probably, and that is the implication that when Uma says that no, she does not have any problem, rather he should go for checkup. So this line implies that the problem is not with Uma about their pregnancy report, rather with Suresh. But Suresh does not want to go for checkup as he is a male, he is a man. So that is the problem here. So after that, Uma asked her father for 50,000 rupees, and when her father asks why, she tells him that it is for Mr. Sharma's son Shubbu's wedding. She says that she knows where her father keeps the key of his locker, and she will take the money herself. After that, Uma says what he has to tell to her father-in-law and to her husband Suresh, that they had a long meeting with her father. Actually, she wants to go somewhere else and spend some more time. That is why, and she does not want to tell that to her husband or father-in-law. That is why she instructs Munuswamy that uh, he has to tell Suresh and her father-in-law that they had a long meeting with her father. Back in the car, Uma instructs Munaswamy to go to Shivajinagar. At first, Munaswamy does not agree to go there as he thinks it is dangerous and it will be dangerous for her as well as for him if he takes her to Shivajinagar when Suresh will come to know about the fact. Even after insisting Munaswamy, he does not agree to take her to Shivajinagar. That is why Uma gets out of the car and takes auto rickshaw and leaves for Shivajinagar. When she reaches the place where Champa lives, she finds that Munaswamy has also come behind her, but she suggests him not to stay with her and stay away from her. After that, Uma enters the living room of Champa. They had a talk about Anarkali. Champa sees uh, Uma being very embarrassed with the bag she is holding, and she understands that there is something precious in the bag. So when she asked, "Is there money in your bag?" she says yes, and Uma shows her how much money is in her bag. So she suggests her to hold the bag tightly, and this is not safe to bring so much money in such a place like the colony of the Hijras. After that, Uma says that this money is for the bail of Anarkali if she had not killed Kamala. So Champa says no, Anarkali did not kill Kamala, someone else did, but she does not know who did. So then she says that she will help Kamala, sorry, she will help Anarkali get out of the jail, and she will also make Anarkali the head of the Hijras. So as their Kamala is no more. So at that point, Uma asks her, so Kamala was your first priority, your first choice, means Champa's. Then she says yes, Kamala was her first choice, but as Kamala is no more, Anarkali is the best option for her to choose as the head of the Hijras. So then Uma says that she does not want to help Anarkali because she might have killed Kamala anyway, as she wanted to be the head of the Hijras. That is why maybe Anarkali had killed Kamala, but Champa very confidently says that no, Anarkali did not kill Kamala as they were like sisters. While they were talking, suddenly Salim storms in the room and asks Champa to get back the things of Kamala. So Champa said that she has a guest now, and she does not want him to disturb them. But Salim says he wants the trunk of Kamla first. She wants to go through the things of Kamla. Then Champa says that all the things belongs to Kamla are now theirs, and even if Salim gave those things to Kamla, now those things belongs to the Hijra community. That is why she does not want to return things to Salim. But Salim says that he does not want those things back, and he did not give them to Kamala. He only wants to check, to go through the her trunks for a certain thing which he wants to find. Then Champa said that she had an important guest before her and tells Uma to tell her identity to Salim, as she herself does not know who Uma was. So Uma says that she is the daughter-in-law of the Deputy Commissioner of Police. So Salim becomes scared, and when Uma asked Salim that why does he want to check or go through the trunk of Kamla, Salim leaves in a hurry. When Salim leaves the room, Champa tells Uma that Salim is ashamed to tell before her that he used to come for Kamla, and now Champa asked Uma to give her the money so that she can arrange for the bail of Anarkali. But Uma says that she wants to know why Salim is trying to find out something. What does he want to find? What is he looking for in the trunk of Kamla? So, if she says that if Champa does not tell her, she will not give her the money. In fact, she will tell her father-in-law that Champa has killed Kamla. So, afraid, Champa says that Salim uh, came for a photograph. And what kind of photograph? She does not know. She only knows that they had a photograph together, and the photograph is very important for Salim. So then Uma asks, what does Salim do? Then Champa says that Salim is the bodyguard of the Palace of Orchards where the minister lives. And when Uma asked her which minister, then Champa said that she does not know which minister, but the minister whose son's wedding is in next week. So Uma understands who is being referred to here. Then Uma tells Champa that she wants to go to Kamla's room and uh, see her things. Champa takes Uma to Kamla's house, Kamla's quarter, and there she shows her the things belonged to Kamala, especially the photographs. So there were photographs of Kamala's when Kamala was young with her parents, and then Champa said that then she was her mother and father. Then the scene shifts to the interior of the car where Munaswamy suggests to Uma that they should not go to the minister's house because then if Uma goes to the minister's house, Uma's father-in-law will be informed about the fact. However, Uma insists to go there and suggests and orders Munaswamy not to tell about the fact to her father-in-law. So after reaching Mr. Sharma, that is the minister's house, Uma started to question Salim about his wife, and she searched for his wife because she wanted to interrogate her about Kamla and Anarkali and other things. But Salim was very frightened, and suddenly Mr. Sharma appears in the scene, and he also started to inquiry about Uma's identity. Somehow Uma manages to hide her nervousness and they talk in private, Mr. Sharma and Uma. There she informs Mr. Sharma that she is doing all this for her thesis of PhD because she is working with on this transgender communities, hijras. That is why she wanted to probe into the case. In between the conversation of Mr. Sharma and Uma, Mr. Sharma's son Shubbu comes downstairs and he requests Uma not to arrest Salim because he thinks Salim is a good man. So then Uma meets and talks with Shubbu. However, Mr. Sharma says Shubbu to go to his room because he is not well. The scene concludes with the little talking between Shubbu and Uma. Then the scene shifts to the bedroom of Suresh and Uma again. In this scene, at first, Suresh and Uma they talk about the money that Uma brought from her father's house. Suresh says that her father called him and told about the money. So that is why Suresh is quite annoyed that Uma has brought money from her father because Suresh has never refused any money to give her. Well, however, then Uma says that her mother-in-law, that is Suresh's mother, again had taken her to doctor for test because uh, she is not getting pregnant. However, the doctor again has said that he wants to see Suresh, that is, meet him personally, and the doctor may check his sperm because the problem may be with his sperm as well. However, Suresh does not want to go to the doctor because he has confidence. He does not need to do any test. In the next scene, Uma again meets Champa, and there she requests Champa that she wants to meet Anarkali, but Champa does not agree. She repeatedly orders Uma to go back to her home because to meet Champa and Anarkali at this time is very dangerous for her as well as for them. But after much insisting, Champa agrees to let in Uma, and then she goes to Anarkali's room. There she finds that Anarkali is bitterly wounded. Someone has smacked her on the nose and she is in pain. So there this scene ends and the scene moves again to the interior of the car where Uma and Suresh are going to visit the wedding of Mr. Sharma's son. Suresh asks Uma what she has bought for the wedding, and Uma says that she has bought a huge carpet. Uh, Three servants will be needed to carry the carpet. It's so much big. So, and she also says that it is only from their side, that is only from Suresh and Uma. Their parents, Suresh's parents, are giving Mr. Sharma a new chandelier for their new house. So this that is a different gift. The scene then moves to the wedding ceremony of Mr. Sharma's son, Subbu. Mr. Sharma and Uma has a conversation where Mr. Sharma talks about his son's wedding, that he has found a good and perfect partner for his son, and they are going to they are going to start a new phase of their journey. While Mr. Sharma is being congratulated by his guests on the ceremony of his son's wedding, Uma goes to the servant's cabin and Salim asks her what she is searching for. So, in reply of that, Uma says that she is searching for his wife, Salim's wife. So, he says that this is not the correct time to visit the servant's cabin. But suddenly they saw that a group of hijras, including Champa and Anarkali, arrive in the ceremony and they start doing the things they do in a marriage ceremony. So Mr. Sharma gets annoyed and he orders the security to throw them out of the ceremony. But Uma says that the presence of a hijra in a birth ceremony or in any marriage ceremony is considered to be auspicious. Only then Mr. Sharma agrees to keep them in the ceremony. Then the hijras started to sing and beat their drum loudly and asked to see the newly married couple. So when Mr. Sharma told the servants to bring them, Shubbu arrives, comes into the scene, but he snatches the gun that Suresh was holding and started to frighten everyone by threatening to kill himself. While holding the gun and pointed it to himself, he said that no one can keep away Kamla from him, and he is also going to the same place where Kamla is resting now. So everyone tried to stop him and persuade him not to do that, but he does not listen to anyone. Then Anarkali said that she has a gift for Shubbu, and then hands him over the photograph. After taking the picture in his hand, he sobs and cries for a moment and then makes the gunshot and kills himself. And the screaming of his father is heard. This is how the scene ends. The next scene moves to Champa's house, where Anarkali is now the head of the Hijras, and Champa has retired to her sister's house in Bombay. So Uma goes there and asks Anarkali that why did not she tell her about the murder of Kamala. Anarkali says that that was of no use at that time. At first, Anarkali thought that Salim was taking Kamala for his own pleasure, but later when she understood that it was Shubbu who was in love with Kamala, she tried to stop Kamala, and even she had made a scratch on his face so that Shubbu will forget Kamala, but that did not happen. After saying all this, Anarkali gives a locket to Uma and says that if she wears this locket with the special power of a mantra, she will be blessed with children. And saying this, she bids her goodbye. And at the end of the play, in the bedroom of Suresh and Uma, Uma says everything to Suresh about the case, the murder, who killed her, how she was killed, everything. And then Suresh asks her how does she know everything. So she says that she has her own resources. So she asks whether or not Mr. Sharma will be arrested, but it is clearly mentioned in the text that at the end of the text that Mr. Sharma was not arrested. So at the end of the play, the voice of Uma is heard saying that everyone, in spite of knowing everything, Mr. Sharma was not arrested, the photograph was destroyed, and the suicide of Shubbu was written off as an accident. This is how the play ends, and at the end of the play, the voice of Uma is heard, who says that the subordinate people, like the Hijras, they have no voice. Their voice is not heard. That is why people, Hijras like Kamala, is murdered, and people like Anarkali and Champa cannot do anything, in spite of knowing who is the murderer who has killed their sister. So, this is the main concern of the play.